Morning. Sorry I didn't get back to anybody. Didn't get back to doing this yesterday. Honestly, I took the camera and the Bible and everything with me over to the horses. I figured when I got done, I would just sit in the car and do this. Except that the air conditioning decided it didn't want to work in the car, and I really didn't want to sit in a hot car and read. Have sweat running into my eyes while I tried to read. So here we are, and I'm going to read both chapters 3 and 4 today. Genesis chapter 3. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Here, tidbit of information in case you didn't know this. There, all through the Bible, they have gone and they have put this Lord in capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. That's not Lord. That's that unpronounceable name of God. Yod He Vav He. Yahuwah, Yehovah, Jehovah, however you want to pronounce it, that's what that is. So they literally have taken God's name out of the Bible about 6,000 times and replaced it with the word Lord. But here we go. Any beast that of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Has God indeed said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God said, You shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. Now, I was trying to decide whether I wanted to keep reading and then go back and do commentary, or whether I wanted, but I've decided I'm just going to comment while I read it. Obviously, God didn't say don't touch it. And 2 days ago, I was talking about the fact that God told Adam not to eat of that tree before he had even created Eve. So I think that I know just from reading the book that God didn't tell Eve not to eat of the tree, that Adam told her that. And there's a piece of me that wonders whether this don't touch it thing was something that Adam told her. It's like, you know what? Don't even touch it. Which isn't that a classic case of putting these extra fences around God's rules? And the extra fences actually create a problem. Anyway, here we go. Lest you die. Then the serpent said to the woman, You will not surely die. For God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Her husband was with her. At no point did he leap to his feet and say, Don't do that! Which is probably about it. In Romans 5, verse 12, and in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 21, it says that through man sin entered. Now, I know that the churches of the world like to blame Eve for this, but if you read the book says that man was the problem, not the woman. Where are we? And then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Then the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, Where are you? So he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you not to eat? And then the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And the Lord God said to the woman, what is this you have done? And the woman said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate. Backing up. Then the man said, you know what the man did not say? The man said, oh, darn, I'm sorry. He did not say that. He said, the woman, she did it, whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. So it's not my fault that I ate the fruit. It's her fault, and it's actually your fault, God, because you gave her to me. Things might have been much different if he had just said that he was sorry. But no, that's not the way it came down. The serpent deceived me, and I ate. So the Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all cattle, and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you shall go, and you shall eat dust all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. And to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. And then to Adam he said, because you have heeded the voice of your wife, and have eaten from the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you. And you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you shall return. I have dogs here with me, and I was just making sure everybody was behaving themselves. And Adam called his wife Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Gonna stop there too. Because I have heard discussion about what they call a pre-Adamic race, which I really think mostly grows out of this moral objection that people have to the notion, you know, that classic question, where did Cain get his wife? You know, well, he married his sister, okay? And I really can't find any documentation anywhere in this book that says anything different than that. And the objection is moralistic. And a really close study of the Old Testament is going to show you that Abraham married his sister, a half-sister, but she was still his sister. So the incest laws that we have in place, they didn't take place until Mount Sinai, which was several generations away from Adam and Eve. And I think the farther... Anybody remember the movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton? I think really that's what's happening. You make a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and you start ending up with flaws in the DNA. And I think that's I think that is exactly why God created these incest laws. We, however, turn it into some kind of moral issue. It's really nothing more than this DNA. Okay. And first cousins too. I mean, Jacob married his first cousin. That's Rachel and Leah were cousins. Rebecca was Isaac's cousin, first cousin. Anyway. So yeah, that's right. I was talking about rabbit trail. Sorry. So if Eve was the mother of all living, then, I mean, how many? What's that line? How many is all? All is all. She was the mother of everybody. I also heard somebody say something about, well, this notion about the pre-Adamic race not having like a spirit, like God breathed the spirit into Adam, and that these beings that were, the caveman, the Neanderthals, they interbred with Neanderthals, that they didn't have a spirit, except that if you go back to the creation story, God brought all these animals to Adam, and they were looking for somebody to be a companion for him, and he named all the different animals, but they didn't find anybody that was going to be a good. Although a dog probably would have worked and made life much simpler, but no. So he had to actually create Eve, because there was no one who would be a good partner for him. Well, if there was a pre-Adamic race which created a good enough partner for Cain and for Seth so that they could have children, interbreed with the Neanderthals, then they probably would have settled. Adam would have picked a girl from that thing. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Where am I? Also, for Adam and his wife, the Lord God made tunics of skin and clothed them. Skin. Where'd he get the skin from? Something died. And there's our first allusion to, what do they call that? It's got to do with somebody else doing the dying, paying the price. There's a word for it. It'll probably occur to me, 2 or 3 hours from now. And then the Lord God said, "Behold, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever," stuck in that state of fallenness. Those are my words. Live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he had been taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. Now Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, "I have acquired a man from the Lord." There's also this whole group of people that's like, "Oh, Cain was actually Satan's kid. That was the fruit that Eve ate," and it's not what the book says. The book says, "Now Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain." I don't know how much clearer we can get than that. "And said, I have acquired a man from the Lord." And then she bore again, this time his brother Abel. Now Abel was, by the way, we're into chapter 4. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to the Lord. Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And the Lord respected Abel and his offering, but he did not respect Cain and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. So the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at your door, and its desire is for you, but you should rule over it." Now Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and killed him. And then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is Abel your brother?" And he said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" And he said, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a vagabond you shall be on the earth." And Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground. I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth, and it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me." And the Lord said to him, "Therefore whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold." And the Lord set a mark on Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him. Then Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mehujael, and Mehujael begot Methushael, and Methushael begot Lamech. Then Lamech took for himself 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the second was Zillah. And Ada bore Jabal, and he was the father of those who dwell in the tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all those who play the harp and flute. And as for Zillah, she also bore Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every craftsman in bronze and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Then Lamech said to his wives, "Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Wives of Lamech, listen to my speech. For I have killed a man for wounding me, even a young man for hurting me. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, then Lamech 77-fold." And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and named him Seth. For God has appointed another seed for me instead of Abel, whom Cain killed. And as for Seth, to him also a son was born, and he named him Enosh. Then men began to call on the name of the Lord. And that's it for today. I read 2 chapters today because I didn't read anything yesterday. So, thanks for watching. There's a ton of other things I could go into, because this thing has, this particular Bible has all these little notes, these little cross-reference verses, but if I started looking up every cross-reference verse that's in this book, we'd probably be here forever. So I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.